Welcome to the Miracosta Filmmaking Podcast. I am Kim, and I'm here with
Jessica.
And Tim.
Sup?
Sup.
We'll talk about Scoob.
Yeah.
Is that the name of the movie?
Yeah, a trailer just dropped for an origin story for Scooby-Doo called Scoob.
It's got, it has Frank Welker as Scooby-Doo, which is a little bit strange.
Yeah, I'm like watching the freaking preview, like this. I have a screenshot on IMDb that I'm looking at right now, and it's Shaggy as like a preteen boy or whatever, and then Scooby. But during that scene in the trailer, Scooby sounds like a freaking adult, and I find it very awkward. Mm-hmm. And then there's, in this actual scene as well, he basically licks Shaggy, and then Shaggy, like, licks him back, and then Scooby sits back and he's like, maybe you probably shouldn't do that, or whatever.
Yeah, there's definitely...
I thought that's kind of like... That's like, weird. I just find that kind of weird, and, like, this is like a really fun kids movie or whatever. Obviously could be for all ages or whatever, but like, you know what, I think the kind of like adult, almost meta like humor like that is kind of being done all over the place nowadays, and I'm just like, dude, like, yeah, it's funny, but you can calm the fuck down on the adult kind of humor or whatever.
Oh yeah,
it's okay to like be, you know, I'm almost 30 years old, and I'll totally see this movie, even if it had all children's humor or whatever, because we were talking about this before the podcast. I was born in 91, you guys were born in 99. I grew up watching Cartoon Network and Scooby-Doo mainly, so Scooby-Doo is like my childhood.
Yeah. I
was kind of iffy about hearing a new Scooby-Doo movie about like an origin movie for Scooby and how he met Shaggy or whatever. But after seeing the trailer, I'm like, okay, it looks really cute, so I guess I'll see it anyway.
Well, and that's the other thing about it too, is it doesn't look bad.
Yeah, it doesn't look bad. Like, even being an adult, I will see it.
Yeah.
I don't need to see a movie and have adult humor be one of the reasons why I would see it. I don't mind seeing a kids movie. Yeah. I really don't.
I feel like a lot of people might be like turned off to that animation because it's like in CGI, and so many people are used to seeing the classic 2D style for Scooby-Doo. People who like grew up with the original series, and you know it's you know, it's similar to like what they're doing with like SpongeBob, for example, and like the new SpongeBob movies, how they make them in CGI, and like that really bothers me. Like I want to see SpongeBob the way that SpongeBob actually works.
I'm definitely all for the hand-drawn animation. Yeah. Which I think I read something somewhere that Disney was open to going back to hand-drawn animation as well.
I really hope so.
I'm really excited because now like every Disney movie, usually they're teamed up with Pixar now. They're all CGI. Yeah. And I'm just like, yeah, it's great, and it's a really beautiful, breathtaking artwork, but I'm also a huge fan of classic and hand-drawn animation.
I'm just glad that like TV shows that are cartoons still have the integrity to still do the 2D style.
Yeah. I was really excited when Princess and the Frog came out, and before it came out, it was announced that it was going to be done in hand-drawn animation, which I was really excited about. I mean, it probably didn't get the greatest reviews, but I was really, really happy to see like my kind of childhood come back, in the sense that this was an animation that I grew up seeing, and it's always been a very beautiful type of animation.
Yeah. Well, there's actually a very like that is the key movie about why the animation, like, okay. So that movie was like the Walt Disney Animation Studios kind of not last resort, but like, you know, kind of last film they made. It was like a, you know, kind of one, okay, if this does well, we'll really try to hit it out of the park. But of all the times to release the movie, and I really have to say it was bad planning, they released it the same, I think it was the same weekend or the same day as Avatar. like James Cameron's Avatar, which was, I think, owned by Disney also at the time. So it was one of those things where you're having one studio that's literally making more money than anything up till, I think, the Avengers movies. No. Sorry, I got in reverse. So it wasn't until these Avengers movies that those numbers were passed. So you're having all this resources go into this huge movie, and you're not quite planning in their division or branch that you own, and they kind of, suffered a huge financial loss. It was a pretty good movie all around. I've seen quite a bit of it, but it really kind of bit them in the butt at the end because they ended up getting absorbed by kind of Pixar. Most of the people who worked on and I'd say just the whole company pretty much absorbed into Pixar, and that's why you would see before a Pixar film, most of the time, like I think Wreck-It Ralph did it and Coco did it, where you have the Walt Disney Animation Studios beforehand, but that was a hand-drawn 2D studio, and you can have writers, you can have animators, shifting jobs and, positions, but how many people can you keep that were working on 2D and moving them over to 3D? I would really prefer a kind of separation or like a new branch division of 2D animated movies, because they cancel like a whole bunch.
Never get them anymore.
No, you just don't. And one of the problems with that is Disney's not improving their arsenal. Only like with Disney Plus are they starting to make like a Monsters Inc. movie, or like they used to do a Toy Story movie, but that was because they had to. It was so popular. But Pixar doesn't make TV shows, and TV shows kind of breed more movies and stuff. It causes a following, and I'd say Disney's kind of shooting themselves a little bit in the foot for doing that. But yeah, I definitely want to see more animation hand drawn, like Cuphead.
Wait, what?
Cuphead?
Yeah, Cuphead.
That's, oh my god, it's so strange you bring that up, because I almost bought that on my Switch the other day. There's this really, really cool video game, and is that also a TV show?
That is, okay, so the story behind that is it's a video game, but the animations were pretty much hand-drawn each frame.
Yeah.
So instead of having a modeler come in and articulate and move each hand in position, they would pretty much do like a frame by frame shot, and have it be like Dragon's Quest, which they're making a movie about that.
Awesome.
Where it's like your choices kind of dictate what movie you see. So that's interesting because it's like a hand drawn video game, but then that's getting a hand drawn animated series, and they're really sticking hard to that because originally they were like, oh, why don't we do it animated? And it's like, oh yeah, we could use computers. And then the creators are like, no, you're doing it hand drawn. That's the whole point. Yeah.
So to give you guys an image or a visualization about what Cuphead looks like, think the old school Disney cartoons, like Steamboat Willie type animation, that kind of art style.
It's like you're mixing the colorized Popeye films, like Sinbad.
Like Popeye, even old Looney Tunes cartoons. Yeah, really, really cool classic art style, which I personally really love. Think Betty Boop. Yeah. That kind of stuff.
It's like you're putting a smiling cup on Mickey Mouse's body, pretty much.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of newer cartoons, like even the ones that are 2D, like they're so still and they don't move or have like any life to them. And I miss that about like older cartoons, how they're just like they have more like energy, and it's like the way that the bodies move and everything. It's like it's a lot more like quirky.
Yeah.
And there used to be more animation errors. Like there would be moments in like, going back to Scooby-Doo when Fred's eyes were closed or his mouth was off, or
Fred's eyes were just black dots.
Yeah, and they would either be simple or you would have like slight animation errors. If you want to, I think there's like over 2,000 in the original Transformers cartoon, like of just problems, like characters being different size, colors, all this stuff. But the thing about it is, it kind of adds a bit of character to it also. To a degree. Like you don't want just bad flaws that people can point out easily, like noticing, hey, this is flat out wrong. But it's kind of interesting to see a little bit of problems or quirks or things like that, because it gives people to talk about additionally. Now you don't want it to go too far, but yeah.
Yeah, like I want it to seem like it's an actual like drawing that came from somebody, you know, who had like a vision and an art style instead of just kind of like something that's just computerized and stuff. Because even 2D animation is still used these days with a computer, and so it's all just kind of like still.
Yeah, it's not actually hand drawn. Yeah. A little something, but like someday I would love to have like a collection of actual cells from some of my favorite TV shows. Yeah. Like I'd love to have an actual cell from the Scooby-Doo Where Are You series, you know, from the great. You know, I think that'd be really, really cool. Or from like old cartoon movies that I grew up with or something.
Yeah, like a Who Framed Roger Rabbit cell. There's actually an interesting video about how that movie was made, and pretty much talking about how they would use like real props and like hands and all this stuff. Like if you rewatch the movie, a lot of the characters are holding like real life objects, and then like they do things like they'd either have a crane from above and kind of like do like a, what's it called when you have a puppet, marionette, or like when you're puppeteering something.
Yeah,
or
marionette.
There's one scene in particular that stands out where the penguins are in the club and they're holding real trays and they're handing stuff to real people. And they pulled like a Muppet Show where they're on this huge set that's like 10 feet above or something like that, and then these people are walking underneath with poles to hold the trays up.
Yeah.
So, and like everything's painted green because, you know, green screen stuff came out then. But one of the weirdest things about like those movies is when they overlay the shot, it works so perfectly.
Yeah. And then it's just like certain times when it's not done well to where it's painfully obvious that they had to like, for example, the fiery scene in the movie Labyrinth, that was painful. That by today's standards, that's painfully obvious that that whole thing was like CGI or whatever, or they did that on a green screen, which technically they actually used a black velvet screen, and they filmed the Fireys with puppets. Sometimes the Fireys themselves actually had 2, possibly even 3 people puppeting one Fiery while Jennifer Connelly acted around them. And then, so it was basically Jennifer Connelly on the actual set. The entire set was draped in all black, and then the puppeteers were in all black themselves. So they had to actually like seriously scrub down any potential like pieces of lint or fibers or whatever, and then they edited it to have the background in the back, but it was still super, super obvious for their editing skills. So
well, I guess we'll move on and we'll talk about, you know, speaking of animation, we'll talk about how much Nickelodeon has been milking the hell out of SpongeBob, right?
Well, like, to kind of segue a bit back.
Like Disney with everything they have.
Like the Scooby-Doo movie, the Addams Family movie, SpongeBob, and, oh boy, like there's one other we could talk about later, but those 3 movies look like they're almost using the same engine. Scooby-Doo looks a little bit more upgraded, but they all look like they're used the same CGI. That's the other problem with CGI. It's starting to look a bit generic. Yeah. But yeah, the new SpongeBob movie dropped, and it's. Do either of you remember when Gary went missing? Like in the that they did the huge.
The Gary Come Home episode. Oh my God, that was so tragic.
Gary.
It's that again.
Sorry, wrong Gary.
Yeah.
So they're combining like the travel aspect from the first SpongeBob animated movie, and. Like, they actually have the paddy wagon and stuff again, which is kind of odd, but kind of interesting. But they're going on a trip to find Gary, and it's a lost pet story. But I'm just wondering, what can you really do that you haven't done before? Yeah. Because there's a lot of aspects you can do with that. What comes to mind is there's a movie called That Darn Cat by Disney. You've seen it? Yeah. And you can
not near so.
Yeah, but you can do a lot of things with animals, but how many things can you do with a cartoon animal? Like not Scooby-Doo when they're anthropomorphized, but like when you actually have a story centered around like a lost pet, and the pet is like a grounded, not intelligent, just like a lost creature, there's not really that much you can really do besides, we'll go on this grand adventure and things like that. Like the pet itself, you can have a couple of shots.
And they already did that in the Gary Come Home episode, whatever it's called. But like, that's the thing. Just SpongeBob's been going on for so long that they've just recycled so many episodes, and it's just like they're out of ideas, and it's like you can tell when a series has just like hit the point where it's like it's okay to pull the plug because it's like you're out of ideas. Just admit that you're out of ideas and end it.
Well, what's got me concerned is is this the send-off? Because if this is a send-off, why in the world would you choose a Pet is Lost story? Of all things.
Yeah.
Because it's like, when you're looking at an animated series and it's centered around one main character and a group of friends, maybe sometimes, it sounds like I'm talking about Scooby-Doo, and sometimes they're pet, you really have to show that character interaction and that character building, the conflict.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And unless you're going to show scenes of like the pet being scared or the pet being sad, an animal is static. And now they can have personality, but if you're having a grounded animal and it's not something like Scooby-Doo, then they're just kind of static. You can have them, Homeward Bound.
Love that.
You're not going to have a SpongeBob Homeward Bound movie where one side is the animal is like trying to go on this journey to re-find the owner or find themselves, and the other is trying to just find them. No, you're going to have an animal, like 5 shots of the animal. You're going to have Gary 5 times in the movie. Yeah. Just, have him sad or have him worried or shocked, and then that you would have a contrasting scene where SpongeBob and Patrick are having fun at a casino or something like that. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be really off-putting. Now, I could be proven really wrong on this, but what can you really do with that type of story?
The thing is, why I feel Scooby-Doo and Homeward Bound worked so well was because they actually gave these characters you're talking about, like Scooby himself and the animals. I think the reason why it worked so well is because they gave them literal voices. Mm-hmm. And not only that, but the actual pets in Homeward Bound, The Incredible Journey, they were really, really well trained. And obviously, because they had numerous animals playing the same role for certain scenes or whatever. But the training combined with the actual voice acting as well, that actually helped give these characters personality. Mm-hmm. So that's why it works so much.
All Gary does on SpongeBob is just go meow. So that's why a lot of the Gary episodes on SpongeBob turn out bad, because it's just kind of like SpongeBob just talking to Gary and like abusing Gary and like yelling at Gary. So it's like no one really cares about those episodes.
Yeah. So I mean, Gary is one of those characters where it's kind of like a minor character, but even though he doesn't have an actual like voice or many times or whatever, he does have a personality, which is, I think, one of the reasons why Gary works as a character.
He's smarter than SpongeBob.
Yeah, and then due to clever animation and acting or whatever, he comes off as a really entertaining character. Yeah. So that helps.
I keep wanting to go back to the animal aspect of movies, or just animal movies. Like when you're looking at a movie, and this is gonna sound weird, like Air Bud, when there's like a heartfelt connection between the character and the animal. When you're having a lost pet movie, you're already setting yourself up for disappointment in the fact that you now have to have 2 perspectives, or one really obscure, detective type of, mentality, like, we need to find this person. When you're looking at a movie like Air Bud, there's character interaction abundance, because it's like it's a boy and his dog type of mentality, or it's the connection between man and creature. There's a genuine feeling that the audience gets that this is a realistic bond or something like that with the actual pet, and a cartoon can do that. A cartoon can install the same thing that live action can. The problem is how you set up the plot. And I think that's a little problem that this movie's going to face. Is it's not plotting it well, especially when you have a backstory. Because didn't when you say it starts with him at like Camp Coral finding Gary or something like that?
Well, what I heard from like I never even like knew about this whole like Gary plot until you told me. Mm-hmm. Like what I had heard was that they were going to make a third SpongeBob movie that was going to be like a backstory, like a prequel to SpongeBob, about him meeting all of his friends at like Camp Coral, like them all as kids. That was going to be like this backstory that totally like goes against the canon of the series, because like they all meet, like SpongeBob meets like Mr. Krabs and Sandy and like all of them in like season 1. So it's like it doesn't make any sense. So like that's what I heard, that they were gonna make like a third movie about this, and then they were gonna make a spin-off to the series about like SpongeBob, a younger SpongeBob meeting all of his friends. Like
they still might do a spin-off series, but that's the weirdest thing about these movies, is whether or not they are actually an end. Because I was thinking about something a while back. Will they make It's a Bug's Life 2? Because there's some movies that just do and don't deserve a sequel, do and don't deserve a TV series, things like that. And I'm sorry, but that's one of those ones that just doesn't deserve it. And yeah, it's just kind of awkward in a sense too, when you're having a series that won't die, like the Terminator series or Rambo. I love the movies, but they've kind of gotten oversaturated also. That's the other thing too.
Yeah.
All right. Shall we move on to talking about the Sonic redesign?
He looks so much better.
Yes, thank you.
I think they also changed the voice actor. If not,
oh really?
Like from what, like comparing the two trailers, if it's the same voice actor, he's giving a better performance than he's ever done. Because the first time that you saw Meow, like the guy's doing it half-hearted, and in this trailer, whoever was in charge of the redesign did their job.
Yeah.
And in the first one, they didn't even. It was Mario Brothers 2. Did either of you ever see the first Mario Brothers movie? That was bad.
They made 2?
Well,
shit.
There was an animated one in Japan, but like the one with Bob Hoskins.
Yeah, that fiasco.
It was going to go into that territory. And yeah, pretty much that bad, because they didn't even have him in like the Green Hill Zone that people are aware of. And then in this trailer, that's the first thing you see, is him just launching out from, the Green Hills Sonic world to the real world, and then you're seeing him do all these things that he would do. He would be super fast. He would be, doing a Flash, Wile E. Coyote type of, or Bugs Bunny in 2 places at once, playing baseball, all this stuff in the trailer. And there's one problem from that, and it's that the trailer itself, if you're seeing that trailer for the first time, you won't know what the heck is going on. But if you're a Sonic fan and you know about the first trailer, which you kind of should have seen a little bit of, or look a little bit at, it's... The second trailer doesn't have much plot. Yeah. It's just, hey, I'm from this world and I'm here. Uh-oh, I have powers and they want to capture me. Hey, you random guy, help protect me and stuff. So it's, plot-wise, it's really obscure, the trailer. But I think just the design is a lot better.
Oh my god, yeah. I'm looking at a screenshot of comparisons for before and after, and the before is just nightmarish. It's on Cats level.
It's worse.
It's actually, I really don't know which is worse, the Cats designs or Sonic designs. Probably Sonic's, because for Cats, they are humanoid, but this Sonic, this
doesn't have a style.
This first Sonic version is humanoid, but the dimensions are just wonky to where it's disturbing looking.
I would have just had them gone with an actual blue, realistic hedgehog, like a genuine hedgehog that's just really fast. That would be funny. It's just seeing a really fast hedgehog going around the whole place. Then a really Cats level, like that's Uncanny Valley. That's really, really, disturbing. And on top of that, too, like you were talking about the Cats movie, that's unsettling. But when you're looking at the other characters in the movie too, you can draw your eye to the one that's the least unsettling. There's a style. This does not have a style at all. I would say that this is some type of, I don't know, like clown version of Sonic that's like hard to look at. Mainly because the eyes. Whenever you see white around
I thought it was
the
actually
eyes,
I actually thought it was the mouth.
The mouth and nose are very
just
bad.
creepy looking.
Whoever did the texturing for that, I'm sorry, the lighting and the texture are horrible. You never show teeth realistically. That's one of the big things. Oh, that's the other thing too.
Unless it's an actual like animal. But when it comes to like humanish characters, I wouldn't recommend doing,
unless they're pearl. Oh, okay.
If it's an anthropomorphic animal person, don't do teeth.
No,
I just think it's weird. And
so many characters just don't have teeth, and if so, it's the big grin smile where both of them are together. You never just see like an upper set or a lower set, like slightly. You never see spacing, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it looks too unnatural. Yeah. So
Jim Carrey looks good.
Yeah, I'm excited because I'm also a big Jim Carrey fan.
What is he in this?
He has not.
He
plays
Dr.
Eggman.
Robotnik.
Oh. Yeah.
That's another big thing is when you get you take a property and then you either give it a different name or use the other name.
Yeah.
Like in this one, I'm not sure whether I think they actually call him Eggman in the first trailer, like at the end, and then they call him Dr. Robotnik at the beginning. Well, either way, it is a little bit confusing brand-wise when you have a character with two different names.
Okay, so I'm looking at the newest, the most recent teaser poster, and it looks so much better, especially with the redesign for Sonic.
And the sizing too. That's the other weird thing about it is
that looks so much better.
It looks so much more clear and crisp. Like, okay, how many movies nowadays, ever since The Dark Knight, have they kind of drained the saturation? Like, if you look at Man of Steel, most of the movie looks like it's almost black and white. And this is starting to look like a pretty colorful movie. And a lot of movies now, like, okay, CGI, like a whole CGI movie, that's another problem is I don't think a whole movie should be CGI. Mm-hmm. There are some that have proven me wrong, but I don't think a whole movie should just be a computer.
Exactly. Yeah, we touched upon this briefly like 2 weeks ago or something. When it comes to CGI, it should help the movie along.
Yeah.
Not be a focus.
What if it
shouldn't be the focus of the movie?
Well, what if it's like an animated movie that's CGI?
Well, okay. There shouldn't just be pure CGI elements. Like, okay, you can't make a dish out of pure spices, curry, but you can't make a dish out of pure spices alone. And personally, like, okay, you can have a 3D image or a 3D animated movie, but you tend to have like 2D backgrounds, or you tend to have like some semblance of like grounding to it. It's okay, it doesn't all single-handedly match the character, if that makes sense. Like, you don't, in the foreground doesn't match, it's not the same type of texture and lighting as the background character also. That's another thing too. Now, animation styles, most of it is done with computers. But what I'm saying is you should have at least some grounding to it, like 2D features, like different backgrounds.
Like making a storyboard first.
Exactly. Like planning it out too. Also, well, that was one of the problems I had with the Sonic trailer was it was one of those things where it's like, hey, why don't we have him do this? Why don't we have him do this? Was it really planned out? Like, for me, I'm interested with the movie, but I would want to see one more trailer. I'd want to see just one more trailer before I'd see the movie. That's how I feel.
Yeah. God, I just still kind of can't get over that original design.
It is so
horrifying.
Well, what makes this movie so big is that's the first time I really, like, there's been changes before where you swap an actor or you do, like, minor things before a movie releases. But they redid the movie. And I think the only time that a director did that before dropping the trailer, Suicide Squad? Did they do that? Did they drop the trailer, then they redid the movie?
I have no idea.
Suicide Squad?
Yeah, for Suicide Squad. I think they might have done that. But I don't know another movie that did that prior. or that might have actually been in production when they redid it. The only two movies I know that really shifted dramatically, like rehauled their movies, was Justice League with the Snyder Cut and Suicide Squad. Those were the two big. No, wait. Okay, I take that back, because there's one being made now, and it's Star Wars. That new Star Wars movie hasn't finished wrapping up. What I think it is, they had an ending.
Isn't it supposed to come out in like a month?
It's supposed to come out this year, and it hasn't finished filming. So I think that they were originally going to have one end scene, and it was so bad that they just had to scrap it and try something else. That's just what I think.
You're totally screwed.
Yeah, and it's 1 month away.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. So there's a new, basically I'd call it like a reimagining of another reimagining. How about that? Of the Peter Pan tale, but mostly, I guess, told from Wendy's point of view, was it?
Wendy's point of view, and it is... Okay, if you've seen The Jungle Book, the recent one, or...
Which one? There's two.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. There was the one called Mowgli, directed by Andy Serkis. It stars Christian Bale, I think Kate Blanchett is Kaa. Yeah, that's another thing when it comes with. Okay, I gotta circle back to the whole CGI notion. This was one of those movies where Andy Serkis chose to make the animal characters very human-like, so they could convey more expressions. Mm-hmm. Did it work? I do not like any of the designs.
That was one of the problems with The Lion King, is that you have... That's the other thing about CGI, is you have this outline of the character that they don't match the background. And if you had a prop or something that was like placing paws in the sand and giving an illusion of it, but there's like no practical effects. There's not even really... You have motion capture that you take of the animals that you're filming, but you don't really have a grounding in a sense for the movie.
So when it comes down to these two movies, I think the problem is that obviously the number one thing that people need to remind themselves is that they're working with animal characters. Animals, obviously, they have their personalities, especially when acted correctly or whatever. Right. They can have really great personalities, but when it comes down to it, they're expressionless as fuck. Unless it's like a dog or a cat or whatever.
Well, unless they're in a very intense scene, that's the other thing too, like standoffs and stuff. Yeah. But then, okay, I was watching Cesar Romano, or I don't know who's the dog whisperer.
Cesar Millan or something like that.
Yeah, Cesar Millan. Okay, I was watching him. It's about body language. Animals communicate with body language, and that's very hard to show in films animated.
Yeah, like, so the thing is that like I was okay with Lion King's animation much more than I was okay with the Mowgli animation, because when it comes down to it, like, it's back to the whole Sonic original design, you know? It just does not look attractive or appealing, and I thought it was really, really distracting. For the Mowgli movie, that's another thing. When it comes to animals, you're gonna have your work cut out for you, especially to portray a very a realistic and or aesthetically pleasing character. You're gonna have to tailor it very, very carefully. So for Mowgli, some of the character designs were just so awkward and actually really creepy. There's this one character, this young white wolf or whatever, and it's like, I like look at this character design for this wolf. Does that look like a normal wolf to you?
No, it looks like a naked cat or something.
Oh dear, it's Chihuahua territory. When you go into that's the biggest problem with either computers, hand drawn, whatever. Hair is very important because it gives you a grounding of what you can and can't look at. Yeah. When you're looking at a person and you're seeing, parts that you normally don't see. Like, that's why movies with nudity and stuff are so, even now they're impactful, is you're seeing something you're not, normally, what's that called? It's not normalized. You're seeing something that's not normalized, and it's just, it's to give it credit, it's eye catching. It makes you look at it, but at times it might make you look at it and then immediately look away or not want to see it. That's the pros and cons.
Yeah, I also believe that, back to the whole CGI thing, especially when it comes to animals, you want to make it look natural.
Yeah.
And these characters in this Mowgli movie, it looked so unnatural that it was actually really distracting, and I did not like it. It really took my focus away from the movie, because I was just like, dude, that is an ugly, weird-looking little wolf, man.
Whenever you see, and okay, to give Chihuahuas credit, there are some that are just very short-haired, but whenever you see like I forget what it's called, it's like a Siamese type of cat, or it's the Egyptian cat where it doesn't have hair, and you just see the skin and stuff.
Yeah.
Even those cats, like those are normalized. When you see those cats, you're like, hey, it's that hairless cat. But when you're seeing
the Sphinx cat.
Yeah, the Sphinx cat.
Yeah,
when you're seeing a shaven creature, that's different. Yeah. Because automatically the hair is starting to grow back, and it's patched work. It's not exact, and that's not normal.
Yeah.
That's definitely not normal. And when you're seeing those types of patterns, at least for your eyes, it seems unsettling, and you don't take it as not realistic, but you don't lower your guard to say, oh yeah, this is fine. And there's just so many movies where hair alone can just kind of ruin it. I mean, the Cats movie, it's not the fact that it's the hair that makes it awkward. It's the blending of it's The Simpsons. Where does the face start and the hair end? Yeah. Like, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I think it's just the I really can't place it. I think it's just a strange look, and it just does not look natural.
Well, and the eyes too. I mean,
well, of course it doesn't look natural. I mean, anthropomorphic beings aren't real.
Yeah. If you're looking at an animal's eyes, most of the time they're just black. Or you see just a dark pupil, and it's like a stare. Like, that's the thing about those robotic animals at like the toy store and stuff, is that they have those big glass eyes or whatever, as a kind of cut short. But that's kind of how animals are. They do have big, solid colored eyes. Cats are a little bit more, complex eye-wise, like the coloring and stuff. But, if you're looking at a wolf, they have big, dark eyes, or the pupils. Basically.
Yeah,
it's cute when you make an anthropomorphic animal in like a 2D animation or like a full animation, but if you're gonna attempt to do it in a live action, just don't do it.
It's style versus substance.
Yeah, and honestly, I think it all comes back to it should help the movie along, not be a focus on it, unless it is mainly a CGI movie.
Right. Oh, but okay, we were a bit sidetracked. The Wendy movie itself.
Oh, we were so sidetracked. Sorry, my bad.
So, moving away from CGI, it pretty much, from what the trailer shows off, it starts off with Wendy living by this railroad, and then you see this boy climbing over a train that's starting to move, all this stuff.
Yeah.
And you get this kind of grime, Oliver Twist type of feeling from the movie. And
by the way, the movie is called Wendy.
Yeah, it's called Wendy. It's releasing 2020. And the thing about it that's odd is the actual setting. It's like they're on an island, and it's like, oh, we're gonna jump in the water, do that type of kids thing and stuff. And then one of the next scenes is they're caught by Hook. And the thing about it is, it's not a pirate ship, a galleon.
Like a classic pirate ship.
It's like I'm trying to phrase this right. It's like the modern day pirates that you see, what was that movie?
Like Somali pirates or something.
Yeah, where
I think that was
Tom Cruise.
Captain Phillips.
Oh, Captain Phillips. Yeah.
Yeah.
That movie. No, not Tom Cruise. Tom Hanks.
That's Tom Hanks. Yeah.
Captain Phillips, where it looks like those ships where it's like a barge or dinghy or just coming at you, and it's it's rusted, it's derelict, all this stuff.
Yeah.
And the crew looks ragtag, like generally how you would think a realistic pirate would look. And to me, something somehow works, but also seems off about it.
So basically, it's like a modern day retelling of Peter Pan, of the Peter Pan story, but from Wendy's point of view.
It's like what they did with Maleficent, how it's like from Maleficent's point of view instead of Sleeping Beauty.
And it's not done by Disney, if I'm aware of. Which is okay.
No, this is not Disney territory.
There was the Tarzan movie that came out. There was the Jungle Book. There was the what was that movie that was Maleficent Disney?
Yeah.
Maleficent was Disney. Oh, there was the Snow White and the Huntsman.
Yeah, Snow White and the Huntsman.
And this movie now, there's so many retellings that are at least doing something different, but they all look like they were shot with a camera that's just. Sorry, it all looks like the saturation's taken down a peg. Like it looks like it's in Man of Steel territory camera work, where everything looks like the color's drained. Except this movie looks a little bit less. You see more shadows, but it works.
Yeah, I think that's probably because it's a very realistic movie. This isn't I guess, a fantasy movie. It probably has elements of fantasy in it. But when it comes down to it, it's not Maleficent or anything. This is like a very realistic take on the Peter Pan myth.
Right, and when you're seeing a bunch of to go to Disney a little bit, when you're seeing a lot of fairy tale or famous works being adapted, a lot of times they get darker or more realistic and stuff. But I just wonder what work in public domain could they really adapt now that would work well, because you can't really do fairy tale Hansel and Gretel, Grimm stories and stuff.
Not with that attitude. Just kidding.
Okay, but I'm saying you can't really lengthen that out, especially since they did do a Hansel and Gretel type of witch hunter movie or whatever that was. But when you're doing adaptations, it's important to get the tone right of the piece, and I think this Wendy movie has a pretty good tone for it. But I'm just wondering how other movies are going to do that past this. Because, this segues perfectly. Did either of you two see the movie version of the Where the Wild Things Are?
Yes, I was. So. That I gotta say a quick note about that. That is not a children's movie. No way in hell.
I think I saw it a few years ago.
Yeah, so I saw it in theaters, and I was I think. Young adult, obviously. I mean, I'm still a young adult or whatever, but when did it come out? Hold on 1 second.
Oh man, that was a couple of years back.
It was a lot.
2009. So this was the year I graduated. So I was 18. So this was 10 years ago. So I saw this, and I'm obviously not a freaking child. Mm-hmm. I know an adult movie and a children's movie and the difference or whatever. And this one was very violent. This one was very
I remember it being
very
pretty
intense.
Emotional.
Oh yeah, very the book deals with, I guess, this kid dealing with anger or something, blah blah blah, whatever. And then this movie was just this movie got really scary, and I would not recommend taking children to see this under the age of 13. Well, because this got really intense.
It's that same type of intensity, or that same type of the darkness camera. I'm just more talking about lighting, if anything else. But
that was definitely very desaturated.
Yes, and I would say that movie encapsulates the same type of lighting and stuff I'm seeing for a lot of adaptive works, not necessarily CGI, but adaptive, fictional works of movies. And to me, you don't need to make it just more dark and gritty.
Yeah.
You can do something stylized and things like that. I really like his work. I really like Tim Burton's work. But ever since he did Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, it's just, you've seen it in pretty much most movies where things just start to get darker. And most of those, darkened pieces are to show a contrast between lighter elements. But most of these movies aren't showing those contrasts or those important scenes where you see color or something like that. I think it was a movie, The Giver, which was based on a book where the whole film is like black and white or something like that, and then slowly this guy is learning about things that the community shouldn't learn about, but he's the only one who's allowed to. And then he's starting to see color. He's starting to see the world for what it is.
Oh, okay, cool.
And
that looks really... I've never seen it. I don't think I've ever really heard of it.
Message.
It sounds really interesting and really powerful.
Yeah.
Holy Testicle Tuesday. It's got a great cast. Jeff Bridges, Meryl Streep, Alexander Skarsgård, Katie Holmes, Cameron Monaghan, Taylor Swift. Mm-hmm. Holy crap.
Taylor frickin' Swift.
Yep.
Yeah. So pretty much the premise of the story is it's a town where people don't have knowledge of past or bad things. They just do good things in life. Mm-hmm. But one person does. And he's passing it on to a kid now. And the kid's like, people need to know, tries to run away, do all this stuff, pass memories on to other people. And it's pretty intense. Like for certain parts it is. Like there's one scene in particular about an animal dying. And that can definitely... That's another really weird thing. Have either of you two seen The Land Before Time? Or The Brave Little Toaster?
The movie with the dinosaurs?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Love those.
When is a movie made for kids and when is it? Because that's rated G.
Have you guys seen...
But it's so sad.
Yeah.
All Dogs Go to Heaven?
I don't think so.
Yes.
Holy shit, dude. Okay, so two con men dogs. Mm-hmm. They are running an illegal gambling casino. Mm-hmm. One of them gets fucking murdered by another dog. Mm-hmm. He goes to hell. There is a hell sequence. He actually has a nightmare where he is in hell, and it is fucking terrifying.
And this is for kids?
Oh yeah, dude. This was a Don Bluth.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And he's okay to kind of segue back. He's doing a lot of movies recently. Like he's gonna be like in the next couple of years. He's doing Dragon Quest.
Yeah.
He's gonna be doing a bunch next year.
So Don Bluth, basically, if you don't know him, he's directed some of the most classic movies. The animated Anastasia, 1997. The Secret of Nim, 1982. All Dogs Go to Heaven. Titan AE. Those are just a small hint of some of the greatest movies ever. He did The Rescuers, Escape to Witch Mountain, the
Brave
animated,
Fievel, An American Tail, Land Before Time.
Yeah, Fox and the Hound.
Oh, I forgot he did that.
Yeah, Pete's Dragon.
That is such a strange movie. Like of all the ones to segue into, I feel that was the original Sonic movie.
Really?
No, well, I mean like in concept. Like, hey, I have this, friend who's being hunted down and stuff. I need to protect him. Hey, this friend... Oh, history's repeating itself. It's going to end the same way.
So, for the recent Pete's Dragon, which came out in dreaded 2016, I actually really got a kick out of it. I thought it was really cute.
Yeah, that was another one that got it.
Yeah, I think that was also... I can't remember if I also got the same vibe that this was not... Or this had some serious... intense moments or whatever, and was borderline getting a little too intense, especially for children, but I really enjoyed it.
Thinking about it a bit, when South Park made the parody episode about I think Spielberg and Lucas remaking Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh, I remember that episode.
Yeah.
Free hat.
Yeah, free hat. But now that I'm thinking about movies being remade and stuff, I'm wondering what's like the ones that you just can't. Like I was thinking about, okay, you can remake Pete's Dragon, that's fine. But like, what if you try to remake E.T.?
Ooh, Lord.
Don't do it. Just stop remaking things.
Because
I'm so sick of it.
Or a sequel, because they made a sequel to Jurassic Park. Ugh. The only thing left that hasn't been touched is Jaws. Mm-hmm. Like once that kind of faded away, and Sharknado kind of took that over.
I don't know. There's plenty of like 1970s, 80s, and 90s movies that they're thinking about either remaking or doing like a sequel or a reboot. I just bit my lip. Oops. So for one of the movies that I hope to God they do not do anything with, because of course it's perfect. After David Bowie died, they were thinking about doing a remake of Labyrinth.
Okay, the only thing I would say about that is if they got the same people who are doing the Dark Crystal, I would kind of be okay with.
Yeah, like Jim Henson's company.
Yeah, because that's gotten such a turnaround.
Yeah, but the thing is that like David Bowie's character, Jareth the Goblin King, he is iconic. Don't fucking touch him.
Yeah. Well, like, okay, would you say that? So, okay, going into like the Robin Williams territory, would you say that if they were to do it, that they should hold up to a respect of the character mindset that they had? Like, okay, like if you're looking at the genie, that he's like charismatic, outgoing, and stuff for the role. Would you say that the role should be good, or are you saying that it shouldn't? That the movie is already great as it is because of the role and should be touched?
I think it really depends on the material and the script and who's involved.
Right. That is the big thing, the script.
That you know, that's the whole thing. I think it just depends on obviously if the story is good and if the people involved with the potential making of the story are really good. You know, like the whole great track record thing. And obviously, when it comes to like bringing back characters, especially of people who have died and cannot reprise their role, that's still very questionable, and I still don't know. It just depends, I guess, overall. So I think it's something that should seriously be handled with intense care.
Definitely.
Yeah. Or maybe when it comes down to it, I think I'm also okay with like doing extensions of the world. Like, let's say if they did anything with Labyrinth, I think it'd be pretty cool or interesting to tell another story set in the same world, but let's say you either bring Jennifer Connelly back, or you can focus on the Toby character all grown up. And let's say a great idea would be
having him with his kid.
Yeah, Toby having these memories or something and wanting to explore that, and then he stumbles upon the world of the Goblin King or whatever, and I think that would be really interesting. But when it comes down to certain characters and their actors who portrayed them, who obviously can't anymore, I would prefer not to touch it.
One of the like weirder aspects when you look back at it is when there's a huge series, like, okay, Harry Potter I'd say lived up to that.
Oh yeah.
But when you have a huge book series and that's getting adapted, there's one I'm going to try to find for next podcast, but when you have a huge series and you don't go all the way of why it got popular, like, you know, one of the reasons why The Wizard of Oz was a huge hit, you know, when it came out, it had a huge following, not because of one book or two. I think it had close to 10 books, like 10 whole different stories. And when you're looking at a series, like in movie versus books, you have to see where the story starts and where the story ends. And even if you're looking at the first kind of two Oz movies, the one, you know, made in the 40s, and then the Disney one, the, you know, Return to Oz, I'd say those are kind of the main ones that people would say, okay, these are good, they follow the books pretty well. That still doesn't even nearly end Dorothy's journey through the whole thing. But if you're looking at just Oz, the first book, they even cut out half the content in that. That's one of the big problems with adaptions is most of the time they'll have like key elements and then they'll just make a new story. That's just what's really odd about it.
So yeah, I thought that was really fun today. We had a lot of really cool topics. So we will see you in the next podcast. I'm Kim.
I'm Jessica.
I'm Tim.
And we hope you enjoyed that, and we will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.